nothing like some wild landspout action to get us all wondering if we're set for our severe weather warnings this year. The system doesn't always work the way we'd hope. A family sues to find out how a police officer's gun was used to kill their daughter. Her business is feeding the community. What the community did when she felt vulnerable fed her soul. Casa Bonita's closed for now. Some old customers have inserted themselves into the bankruptcy case, putting some real money on the line. And the great thing about being a pessimist is you're rarely disappointed. Apply that philosophy to our coming wildfire season, and it's good news, sort of. I suppose we'll take it. Next. Think of the amount of trust that we put into our cell phones. I mean, to remember the stuff that we can't or won't. I'm not entirely confident that I know my wife's phone number. To warn us when something dangerous might be coming our way. Oh, we shouldn't be entirely confident that that will happen either. And yesterday's tornado in Weld County reminds Coloradans why. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
Plenty of you knew about Weld County's landspout tornado because, well, who didn't see it? But plenty of others found out just like they find out about so much else.
The phone went off and it was an alert, so it was either going to be an Amber Alert or a weather alert.
Kevin and Christy Black knew about the tornado because of an emergency alert sent to phones, at least sent to Kevin's phone.
It was a weather alert and it said a tornado warning. If you have a basement, go into your basement immediately. Of course, both of us are retired Marines, so the first thing I did was go outside and check it out because I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Okay, we'll get back to what you should and should not do in a tornado warning, but first, you heard Kevin talk about his alert. You haven't heard Christy describe hers, because she and her niece and nephew, who were also with Kevin, did not get one.
The funny thing is we're always in competition about who has the better phone, because he's a diehard Android owner and I'm a diehard iPhone owner.
So did any of you guys get the alert? They said, no, and all you have iPhones, right? Oh, I have Samsung.
I'm not that concerned because he and I are always together, but for others that may not have got that alert, that could be a huge concern.
Now, why a husband and one would get it and not the other? We have definitely heard stories of one cell phone carrier getting or sending out a warning, but one cell phone carrier not quite sending it out.
Paul Schlatter is a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Boulder, where the alerts originate. The radar imagery you're seeing is not from yesterday. It's actually from the Windsor tornado in 2008. But the point is, the polygon drawn by the National Weather Service creates the boundary for which cell phones get notified. If you're pinging off a cell phone tower in this boundary, you're supposed to get the alert, as long as your notifications for emergency alerts are still turned on.
We are literally just drawing a box exactly where we think the main tornado threat is, and then we draw the box in the path of where the tornado is expected to go.
Christy did have her emergency notifications on. Now, real quickly, when your phone tells you there's a tornado warning, meteorologists and my mother will tell you to take shelter, not run outside to see it simply because, oh, you're an ex-Marine. Now, why did one get the alert and not the other? In Kevin and Christy's case, they both were in South Fort Collins, so they were behind the storm already. Perhaps Kevin's cell phone was still pinging off a tower somehow in that polygon area. I reached out to 3 different cell phone providers, including Kevin and Christy's and FEMA, which created the system in the first place. No one can tell me how many phones actually did get the alert yesterday, Kyle.
And again, the simplest thing that is within our control is to make sure that our emergency alert settings are on. The moment that you set it, roughly 30 seconds ago, I went, I checked, mine are on, they should be. I feel like for years you have asked questions about this system and gotten muddy answers.
The best is you can only check your settings and your notifications in an iPhone. It's on and off. I'm an Android person for my personal phone, and you can turn the sound on and off, and you can turn the alert on and off. So there's the benefit for Kevin and the Android user. You can still get it to your phone, but it won't necessarily make that blaring sound that you have to when you have it activated on your iPhone.
I think a lot of us have been in a workplace. For us, it's the newsroom where you hear alerts going off on different phones, sometimes minutes apart or not at all. That's a pretty clear demonstration of what's going on. Marshall, thank you. A family of a woman murdered while walking her dog in downtown Denver last year wants to know how her accused killer got his hands on a former Denver police sergeant's gun. Today, Isabella Thallis' family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the murder suspect, Michael Close, as well as former DPD Sergeant Daniel Politica. The lawsuit also names Politica's company, Tyrant Arms, as a defendant. Close is accused of using an AK-47 that belonged to Politica to shoot Thallis and her boyfriend, Darian Simon, last June. They were just out walking their dog. Simon survived the shooting, Thallis did not. This lawsuit says that Politica, the former officer, breached his duty by allowing Close to have that gun, even though he knew that Close had a history of reckless behavior.
This gun did not just suddenly appear in that unit in downtown Denver. We are going to trace how it came into the possession of the killer, and we want to know all the answers from Sergeant Politica, former Sergeant Politica, and his organization, Tyrant Arms, LLC.
Politica did not report that gun missing until the day it was allegedly used in the killing. He resigned from the force in March and never faced any discipline from DPD. I want to give you a quick check on our latest status on vaccinations in Colorado. We're closing in on almost 2.7 million Coloradans completing the vaccination process. You got another 412,000 people waiting on a second dose. Sometimes it seems like everybody who wants the vaccine has gotten it. Well, those numbers prove there are still a lot of people in Colorado lining up for shots. Almost 3.1 million people have at least one. When anti-Asian hate began to spike across America this spring, law enforcement and elected leaders, community figures considered what they could do. So did a food truck owner in Denver. Here's Mark Salinger.
An empty food truck means they're on their way to another night of selling out.
We specialize in handmade, scratch-made wontons and dumplings.
Yuan Wonton has become wildly popular in Denver. It's the product of Penelope Wong's incredible cooking.
It was really about getting the flavors of my childhood out into the Denver public arena.
For nearly 2 years now, the truck has focused on food. Now, it's advocating for change.
I found myself going out to the grocery store, hat on, sunglasses, mask on, and keeping everything on while I was in the store for fear. It was really nerve-wracking because you just didn't know. And there's a lot of people that say Denver's different, it won't happen in Denver, but it really only takes one person.
When we began to see a rise in hate against Asians, Penelope donated her profits to organizations combating the violence. She felt that wasn't enough, so she brought in some help.
And when you own a restaurant, you learn that you have a platform, and it's really important to use it for the right causes.
Caroline Glover owns Annette, a popular restaurant in Stanley Marketplace. She helped organize a fundraiser with Penelope to benefit organizations fighting Asian hate. More than 30 restaurants around Denver and musicians, including Nathaniel Rateliff and the Lumineers, joined. Their goal was to raise $10,000. They met that in 4 days and kept going.
Being at 25,000, that's totally insane.
A sign of a community that says love and support is more powerful than any hatred.
As an Asian American, I know me personally, I never would have thought that we would have been able to ask for this kind of help.
While the amount of support that Penelope says she's received has given her an incredible feeling, she says that she wishes she didn't have to organize these types of movements. She says that she hopes that all the work that she is doing right now, as well as so many others, will make it so that their kids won't have to go through all of this when they're older. Kyle?
Yeah, as if it should be on her to solve the issue. And Mark, obviously, this is a step in the right direction. It's a great show of support by the community, but not a solution, of course.
Yeah, Penelope says that when she was younger, growing up in Denver, she was bullied in school. This isn't a new problem, and she acknowledges that a couple months of awareness won't fix the problem, but like you just said, it's a step in the right direction, Kyle.
All right, Mark Salinger reporting from beneath Denver's luxuriant urban canopy. Thank you, Mark. Our drought conditions are already significantly worse than this time last year. The connection to our coming wildfire season is not as simple as it might seem. We know the airport monitors noise outside. How about noise inside the terminal? I'm asking because of the recent Nuggets game. And Casa Bonita's former customers have inserted themselves into that iconic restaurant's bankruptcy case. They have a plan, a bit of money. Now they dive in. We're just going to go ahead and rename Westminster Dysfunction Junction. Nothing against the fine citizens of Westy. It's your elected city council, which could not reach a majority agreement on an appointment to an empty council seat after 99 rounds of voting last night. 99 votes. They just got stuck again and again and again. So that council seat sits empty till voters decide it in November. Even numbers, so I hope you like ties. This is the same city council that went 78 rounds of voting in May trying to pick a mayor pro tem to help lead the fine city of Dysfunction Junction.
Little calmer compared to yesterday. Temperatures once again back into the 90s 4 days in a row with this 90-degree heat across the metro area, the eastern plains, 70s and 80s this afternoon up in the high country. I am monitoring a couple of isolated storms across Larimer County, but really the bullseye for trouble the rest of this evening will be across the far northeastern plains into Nebraska and Kansas. High pressure is around. It slowly scoots off to the east, but the heat is on really for the next couple of days. Daytime highs back into the low 90s for us again tomorrow. Upper 80s, low 90s out east. Some more comfortable temperatures to the high country. We soared close to triple digits on Thursday before a little cool off arrives Friday, but the 90s are back just in time for the weekend.
The drought conditions in Colorado, really across the American West, are looking even worse than last year. Last year when our state saw a devastating wildfire season through the summer and into the fall. Here's the thing though. Chances are this year we're going to see a less severe summer wildfire season, in part because last year's was just so bad. The U.S. Drought Monitor gives us side-by-side comparisons by year. So here's the nationwide picture. You got last June on the left, this June on the right. Last year, this time, about 1% of the country was under extreme drought and no exceptional drought, which is the worst level. This year on the right, more than 17% extreme, 8% exceptional drought. Now let's look Colorado. We went from 19.5% under extreme drought last year up to 29% this year. Exceptional drought, again, the worst. We were at 0% last year, up to 16.4% now. This is not to say we're going to see a worse summer wildfire season. Here's Assistant State Climatologist Becky Bellinger.
I would say that the likelihood of having a worse fire season, it would be hard to top because we've never seen anything like what we saw last year. It was truly unprecedented. And so I envision that we could have a bad fire season. But my hope is that 2020 was so bad that there is low risk that we could see a worse fire season than that.
Dr. Bollinger said, sorry, we forgot your title there. Dr. Bollinger said we could see larger fires in different locations in Colorado than we did last year because areas of our state have now been so dry for so long.
Tonight's next question is one we heard after the Nuggets closed out their playoff series with the Blazers. Southwest Airlines tweeted that DIA reported an uptick in the decibel level at the airport after the Nuggets won, implied that people in the terminal were going wild. We wondered, does DIA really track the decibel level inside the terminal?
No, they do not. Airport spokesperson says Southwest was joking, which of course makes us feel awkward anytime you don't get the joke. Southwest confirms JK. Now, in our defense, we're not fools. I mean, the airport does track decibel levels outside. Those noise monitoring stations start at the end of the runways, and they're dotted out into the community as far as 10 miles out in Adams County. They tell DIA if the plane noise is louder in one spot than expected. Inside the terminal, us people and our human noises go unmonitored. Favorite fact about DIA's noise monitoring. So 5 years ago on Next, we were covering about how DIA gets all these noise complaints every year. And for the year before, they came from 4 people, the majority of them. There's one guy alone who called in 73% of DIA's noise complaints. 73% of the complaints, one guy. He called 4,800 times in a year. There's no need to call us 4,800 times if you have a question. Just the once is fine. Record it in a video or a voice memo, because if you're wondering something, other people are too. Maybe it'll even turn out to be a joke. Email it to next@9news.com.
These small vendors were owed this money for now well over a year.
Casa Bonita closed, leaving creditors hanging, so fans of the restaurant have stepped up to help.
They deserve it. They did the work a long time ago, so really we just want to make things right.
It's all part of the plan to bring back that Pepto-Bismol colored palace of sorta Mexican cuisine. Next.
Casa Bonita fans are putting their money where their mouths, their sopapilla-loving mouths are. They say that they have stepped into that famous restaurant's bankruptcy case, trying to help entertainers and small vendors get the money that they owed. And the Casa Bonita fans are trying to play a more active role in trying to get that iconic restaurant in Lakewood reopened.
So this is the flag that's at your table that you raise when you want something, and it says raise the flag for Casa Bonita. So this is like a basket of sopapillas just kind of exploding out and kind of like making rejoicing, like raise the flag. With the pandemic, every restaurant had to close last March for some amount of time. So that was really hard, and no one knew really what was going to happen. So when they were threatened with eviction by the landlord, then they filed for Chapter 11 reorganization, bankruptcy. So that protects them from all of their creditors. But what we saw when we looked at the list of creditors is there's a lot of small organizations on there that we felt bad for, like the mariachi band, Talisman Quartet, was owed a fair amount of money. Greco & Sons, which is a food distributor, and then there's a janitorial supply company. We thought one of the things we could do with the fundraising is pay off some of those small creditors. So we've reached out to several of those and have paid off some. And so they have their money now, and now we're a creditor in the bankruptcy case. These were for invoices for work or supplies from pre-pandemic. These are small independent businesses, and they're going to probably be the last ones paid, in a reorganization payback. It's really important that they get paid. They deserve it. They did the work a long time ago. So really, we just want to make things right.
Andrew Novick told our photojournalist Foster Gaines that this coming Monday, June 14th, they're going to throw a community event in support of Casa Bonita. It's at My Brother's Bar in Denver, and all are welcome. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a car club that clearly does not have an age limit. That and your feedback next. Hearing from you about Marshall Zellinger's piece tonight on how the emergency alert system that's supposed to ping our phones if we're in the path of a tornado is spotty, depending on which carrier you're on. And Rudy brings up a separate but somewhat related issue. Says, I just watched your piece on tornado alerts on your phone, but what about sirens? Rudy says, I know that I did not hear a siren in Louisville. We've looked into sirens before and checked to see which are operational, which are not. Sometimes people think they live in a city that has sirens when they don't. So let's do a quick sound off, all right? Send us an email, next@9news.com, with your location and whether or not you heard sirens. You can also send it to us on Twitter with the hashtag HeyNext. Your location and then whether or not you heard sirens. That could send us down a path to figuring out some more information as we get into the heart of severe weather season. Nancy has some feedback about that really spicy, almost biblical piece of feedback that we shared right before the break. She says, I have an idea. Wickedness is here to stay needs to be imprinted on T-shirts. She says we could donate the proceeds to charity. I'm not sure that any charity wants the proceeds from a Wickedness T-shirt, Nancy, but that was in fact an idea. See you next time.